To immediately clarify, I am not defending the multi-billion-dollar corporation. In fact, as with most things in this industry, the state of the franchise is directly their fault. What I'm defending are the 200 core developers at Game Freak who the community holds directly responsible for the lack of polish and quality in the recent releases. But first, we need to re-examine what Pokémon is and how we've all lost sight of what the game truly is. Imagine, if you would, a Final Fantasy or Dragon Quest game with over 1,000 playable party members, all with vastly unique designs, animations, movesets, and abilities, all balanced for an online competitive environment. It sounds like an impossible task, which is why Pokémon has had many challenges but never been overtaken. In fact, Pokémon is a series that could have only started on the Game Boy when graphical quality and expectations were at their lowest. This 2D art style allowed them to build a core base of nearly 700 Pokémon, before the swap to 3D, where each generation has seen less than 100 new Pokémon added, with the exception of Gen 9. Now, despite the monumental undertaking of this task, it shouldn't be a problem for the highest grossing media franchise of all time to complete, right? Well, for what is a hugely ambitious series that only grows more complex with each installment, Game Freak is vastly understaffed and underfunded by the Pokémon Company. A new Pokémon generation is given roughly a 3-year development period. However, Game Freak is always working on multiple projects at a time, either being a remake or a Legends game, and the core staff is made up of around 200 people. For comparison, Horizon Forbidden West was developed in 5 years by over 300 people and is a far less intricate game than Pokémon. What's more, this tight development timeline has absolutely no room for delays. Pokémon is a gargantuan multimedia franchise with releases tied to card games, anime, and plush toy merchandise. But what does it matter how complex the project is or how many staff are working on it? They've got more money than any other franchise in history. Well, that brings me to the reason I'm making this video. Buried in the recent Giga Leak, beneath all the tantalizing unannounced projects, is the budget for the most recent installments. Just to set a baseline, the budget for Spider-Man 2 was 300 million USD. The budget of Legend ZA was 2 billion yen, or 13 million USD. I don't know what's more insulting, how little money they give their golden goose to produce their core product, or how they had the Voltorbs to charge 70 US for this game. This figure is so shockingly low that I simply refuse to believe it includes marketing and localization, but it's still a paltry sum for what should be a quadruple A project. And the real victim in all of this is Game Freak. I can tell you as a creative, they hate putting out products they know could be better. But without the time, manpower, or budget, it's frankly a miracle games this complex can release at all, especially when on a mechanical level, they're excellent. The one community that seems to still be positive on the franchise is the competitive scene, which is flourishing to record-breaking numbers of players. That's because the core gameplay of Pokémon has never suffered, because it's the very first thing that's decided upon before production can begin. So that leaves almost no time for polishing the games, which can be seen in the dire technical states these games release in, which leads to the community to hold Game Freak responsible with idiotic statements like lazy devs, when literally no team on Earth could produce a high-quality product under these conditions. We deserve higher quality Pokémon games, and Game Freak deserves to be given the opportunity to make them. For more Pokémon essays, here's one about Scarlet and Violet's secret queer metaphor.